Shalom. It is so wonderful to be here with some of our congregants and some of our community here in the garden and everyone else on the live stream. We are all here together to celebrate this Shabbat. There is a practice of reading a page of Talmud every day. It's called Daf Yomi. And where they are in the cycle now is in Tractate Yoma. It's all about the Yom Kippur rituals and sacrifices. It's a lot. But earlier on, we learned that the role of the high priest on Yom Kippur is so important that they designate a substitute, like a backup priest. And on today's page, it asks, what happens if a high priest is removed, the substitute is appointed and prepared and totally ready to take on this role on Yom Kippur, and then the original high priest is deemed cleared for duty and takes the role back? So the sages say they all agree the original high priest gets to keep the job, but what happens to the substitute? What happens to the backup? They also say that he can't also be high priest, there can only be one, but that he can't really go back to being a common priest because he has been prepared and sanctified in these ways. So the page doesn't really offer a resolution today. Maybe we'll check in tomorrow. But what the rabbis say is he can't go back to being a common priest because we rise in holiness, we don't decrease from it. And so tonight, as we rise in holiness, we elevate our holiness on this Shabbat. We bring in light and sweetness and song and this beautiful community.
We have a lot. Can you hear me out there? Okay. We have a lot of light to bring in. So we are inviting two families to light candles. One family is in Montana, lighting candles. Maybe the sun's going down there.
Aren't they in Whitefish, Montana?
Whitefish, Montana? The Dorfman family is Addie's becoming bat mitzvah, and we invite Rhea and his mom Melinda up. They're right here in Larchmont. So we're gonna light candles both in person and virtually. You have to stay here all night and keep your hands around it. Baruch atah Adonai Eloheinu melech haolam asher kiddushanu b'mitzvotav v'tzivanu lehadlik ner shel Shabbat. Thank you, Dorfmans. We continue with Kabbalat Shabbat. Feel free to open up your programs. Follow along with the words. Begin with Psalm 96, Shiru Ladonai. Shiru Ladonai, Shiru Shir Chadash, Shiru Ladonai, Kol Haaretz, Shiru Ladonai, Shiru Shir Chadash, Shiru Ladonai, Kol Haaretz, Shiru Ladonai, Baruch Hu Shemo, Bazru miyom liyom Yeshuato, Shiru Ladonai, Baruch Hu Shemo, Bazru miyom liyom Yeshuato, Shiru Ladonai, שירו שיר חדש, שירו לאדוני כל הארץ. שירו לאדוני, שירו שיר חדש, שירו לאדוני כל הארץ. שירו לאדוני ברכו שמו, בזרו מיום ליום ישועתו. שירו לאדוני ברכו שמו, בזרו מיום ליום ישועתו. שירו לאדוני, שירו שיר חדש, שירו לאדוני כל הארץ. שירו לאדוני, שירו שיר חדש, שירו לאדוני כל הארץ. טוב להודות לאדוני, טוב להודות לאדוני, ולזמר לשמך עליון. טוב להודות לאדוני, טוב להודות לאדוני, ולזמר לשמך עליון. להגיד בבוקר חסדך, באמונתך בלילות. להגיד בבוקר חסדך, באמונתך בלילות. טוב להודות לאדוני, טוב להודות לאדוני, ולזמר לשמך עליון. טוב להודות לאדוני, טוב להודות לאדוני, ולזמר לשמך עליון. להגיד בבוקר חסדך, באמונתך בלילות. להגיד בבוקר חסדך, באמונתך בלילות. טוב להודות לאדוני, טוב להודות לאדוני, ולזמר לשמך עליון. טוב להודות לאדוני, טוב להודות לאדוני, ולזמר לשמך עליון. As we ready ourselves for singing the Chadodi, look around us, look at all the beauty around us. Oh my God, it's so amazing and so good to be with all of you. Yai lai la lai lai la lai 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 la lai 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 lai. Yai lai la lai lai la lai lai lai. Yai lai lai la lai 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 la lai. Lecha dudi likrat kala, pnei Shabbat nikabela. Lecha dudi לקראת קהלה, פני שבת נקבלה. שמור וזכור בדיבורך, השמיענו אל המיוחד. אדוני אחד ושמו אחד, לשם ותפארת ולתהילה. לך דודי לקראת קהלה, שבת לקבלה. לך דודי לקראת קהלה, פני שבת לקבלה. לקראת שבת לכו ונלכה, כי מקור הברכה מראש מקדם נסוכה. סוף מעשה במחשבה תחילה. לך דודי לקראת קהלה, פני שבת נקבלה. בשלום, עטרת בעלה, גם בשמחה ובצהלה, תוך אמוני עם סגולה, בואי חלה, בואי חלה, לך דורי לקראת קלה, בני שבת יקבלה, לך דורי לקראת קלה, בני שבת יקבלה.
So there's a story about the great Rabbi Hillel, who was once asked, Rabbi, can you summarize the entire Torah standing on one foot? And Rabbi Hillel answered with a line from this week's Torah portion, Ve'ahavta l'reacha kamocha. Love your neighbor as yourself. That's the whole Torah, he said. The rest is commentary. We sang our love song to God, celebrating Shabbat, we imagine personified as a bride. And now it's our moment of reaching out with love to those in our lives. Perhaps if you're home with a device already on, sending a text, a message, a greeting. For those of you here, blowing a kiss or a wave across our garden. And as we prepare to rise together in communal prayer, doing so with love, not just for the Holy One, but also for one another.
Baruch atah Adonai Eloheinu melech haolam asher bidvaro mariv aravim bechokma potech she'arim. God of creation, makes the evening fall from light into darkness with the setting of the sun. You unfold the heavens with brilliant moon and stars and wrap our souls with peace. Baruch atah Adonai Eloheinu asher bidvaro mariv aravim bechokma potech she'arim. Baruch atah Adonai hamariv aravim ואהבת את אדוני אלוהיך בכל לבבך ובכל נפשך ובכל מאודיך. והיו הדברים האלה אשר אנוכי מצווך היום על לבביך, ושיננתם לבניך, ודיברת בם בשבתך בביתך, ובלכתך בדרך, ובשוכבך ובקומך, וקשרתם לאות על ידך, והיו לטוטפות בין עיניך, וכתבתם על מזוזות ביתך ובשעריך, למען תזכרו ועשיתם את כל מצוותי, והייתם קדושים לאלוהיכם. אני אדוני אלוהיכם, אשר הוצאתי אתכם מארץ מצרים, להיות לכם לאלוהים. אני אדוני אלוהיכם.
Adonai Elohim Emet. This morning, our clergy team had the great honor and privilege to join together as a Beit Din, as a clergy court, to sit with a woman who has chosen to join the Jewish people. And we got a chance to share a little bit about her story, to be the official welcoming committee as the newest member of our tribe. And then I got to go with her to the mikveh, that sacred well of flowing water where we immerse ourselves. And she and I have been studying over the last year. And at some point, we were studying the Michamocha prayer and the origin, of course, from that moment of the sea parting and the Israelites crossed through. And she said to me several months ago, oh, it's kind of like going to the mikveh. They started out slaves and they got through to the other side and they were the people of Israel. And it's exactly true, or the birthing canal, you might even imagine. But this prayer, this song, reminds us of the possibility of transformation, that sometimes it's just a few steps from bondage to freedom, sometimes just a few steps from one version of ourselves to another one that we aspire to. So we sing out in celebration and in gratitude, Michamocha.
Who is like you, Adonai? Who is like you, Adonai? Ya la la la, ya la 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 la, ya la 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 la, ya la 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 la, ya la 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 la, ya la 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 la, ya la 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 la, ya la 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 la. Michamocha, chocha ba'elim Adonai, Michamocha ne'etar b'kodesh, nora tehilot osef eleh, nora tehilot osef eleh. La
This week's Torah portion, Kiroshim, is really a double. We focus on the holiness code. It's the better part. But it begins with Achrei Mot, the immediate aftermath of the death of Aaron's son. And we read in the Torah that after this moment of tragedy, Vayidom Aharon, Aaron was silent. And what comes next? Kiroshim, holiness. Sometimes we find holiness in words, in music, in boisterous dialogue, and sometimes we find holiness only in stillness, in silence, in quiet. So as we prepare for our silent prayer with some opening words, I'll invite you after we sing with the cantor to take a few moments to close your eyes, whether here in the garden or at home, to try to sink into, if not the silence, perhaps the singing of our birds, and to find a little bit of holiness in that quiet Shabbat moment.
עושה שלום במרומיו, הוא יעשה שלום עלינו ועל כל ישראל ועל כל
The Talmud teaches one who saves a single life, it is as if she has saved the world entire. One who destroys a single life, it's as if they've destroyed the world entire. The teaching's power comes from the extended message it sends. Every life is precious. Every love in which we share means the world. Our prayer for healing links us, reminding us that all of us, even if we're separated by seats, are all interlocking pieces of humankind, connected by a care for those we love, a longing for their well-being that sustains hope enough for worlds upon worlds upon worlds. So as we rise, if we can and if we'd like, you may not be holding hands officially, but we are connected spirit by spirit and heart to heart. Mishaberach Avotenu Avram Yitzchak v'Yaakov. V'imotenu sarvcha chavlayah. May the one who blessed our mothers and fathers before us bring strength to those who struggle against sickness, all those who so long to be healed. We especially call to mind at this moment a prayer for healing Jerry Gallner, Sam Phillip, Pat Ryan, Harriet Katz, Antonia Nelita Chipola, Susie Wolfson, Lawrence Cohen, Joseph Spinelli, Jody Kahn, Paul Wiggins, June Foreman, Barbara Peabody, Keith Schoen, Ari Fox, Nate Moskowitz, Louis Siegel, Abraham Yochanan Dov Lesser, Patricia Zapata, Andy Rosenthal, Marty Feldner, Bob Glassman, Stanley Tereski, David Goldstein, Lori Weinberg, Bonnie Davis, Louise Elton, Enid Elton, Adrian Weiss Harrison, Bill Crawford, George Simonoff, Daniel Foley, Greg Kellner, Scott Siegel, Paul Stampleman, Deb Margolin, Julie Ross, Terry Rossman, Norton Blumberg, and Ian Spear. Anyone here add a name in hopes of healing? And all those back home.
Source of strength, who bless the ones before us, help us find the courage to make our lives a blessing, and let us say Amen. Nisheberach imotenu v'kor habracha le'avotenu. Bless those in need of healing with refuah shlema, the renewal of body, the renewal of spirit, and let us say Amen.
Amen. Our covenant exploration this year has been all about discovering ourselves by understanding the other, negotiating the multi-lane highway of how to live a Jewish life, knowing as we make our way through a very challenging and complex world, trying to find meaning amidst what at moments seems like madness, we do not walk alone. For the past 3 years, we have walked and been blessed with a clergy colleague who's brought her sensitivity, her sensibility, her smarts, and most of all, her heart to LT in ways too many to count, and as a result, has become not alone our clergy colleague, one of our team, highly valued, a cherished member, serving alongside us, but because of who and how she is, has made this place and her place with us feel like home. Just a week from this Sunday, on the bema of Temple Emmanuel, and if God lives any place, God lives at Temple Emmanuel in New York City, our rabbinic intern will be ordained as rabbi. Though let me just tell you this right now, truth be told, she's been a rabbi for a long time.
Oh boy.
Tonight we are privileged to hear from her on the meaning of this moment, some sacred perspective on where she's been and where she's going, and how her journey somehow touches us all. With gratitude beyond words, Erin Binder.
I just want to say that this is not even my farewell service, and we're already like crying over here. From the moment that I applied to Hebrew Union College, I have been asked the question, why do you want to be a rabbi? And over these last many months of interviewing for a new job that sadly is going to take me away from Larchmont Temple, I've answered that question even more, but with the added qualifier, why do you want to be a Reform rabbi? So tonight, I thought I would share a little bit about my journey to the rabbinate and also what this personal ritual moment means in the larger context of this moment in time. As a child, I had what I thought was a pretty normal life. I had a blended family. I did well in school. I was a Girl Scout. I went to religious school. And I had a little sister. I have a little sister who both annoys me and makes me laugh. And in 7th grade, 2 big things happened that changed the course of my life in big ways. The first is that, like most Jewish preteens, like Raya and Addison, I was preparing for my bat mitzvah. And this wasn't something that I was going through alone, because my mom did it with me. She hadn't had a bat mitzvah when she was younger, and as much as I struggled with it when I was 13, it's actually an incredible thing that we were able to do together. Just as an aside, Parshat Emor, which is next week's Torah portion, was our was our bat mitzvah Torah, and so I insisted that Rabbi Serkman let me lead Chevra Torah next week as part of a way to ground my ordination weekend in Torah. And she doesn't know it yet, but my mom and maybe dad will be making a guest appearance at Chevra Torah, so next week. The other big thing that happened was that my parents sat my sisters and I down and said, we are moving to Cincinnati with a detour to Israel so that my dad could fulfill his dream of becoming a rabbi after a career of being a lawyer. This was obviously the last thing I wanted to hear, but in truth, that experience changed the course of my life forever, growing my relationship with Israel, with Judaism, with Hebrew, and with my family. Fast forward, I won't go like step by step through the whole childhood, but I was a leader in youth group. I went to URJ summer camp. I was involved in Hillel. I spent more time in Israel, and nearly everyone was convinced that I would go directly to rabbinical school. But it's not really what I wanted, and I resisted against it because that's what everybody assumed. That's what I thought I was supposed to do. And so I did other things with my life, and it wasn't until my 30th birthday that it was sort of a big turning point in deciding to go to HUC. Yes, I'm that old. I was at a crossroads in my nonprofit career and in my personal life. And I've always felt this pull between being a Jewish professional or being an active Jew who pursues doing good in the world in different ways. And perhaps looking back, it took me so long to find that perfect job because I wasn't looking in the right place. And once I decided that rabbi was the way that I wanted to live my life, it's like something just clicked. It's like that aha moment had just been underneath the surface all along, waiting for me to get there. I never questioned that if I would go to a different seminary. Once I decided on rabbi, HUC was the only place for me. I was the candidate that came knocking at the door. No one had to convince me or hunt me down. I'm every admissions officer's dream. Reform Judaism is in my blood and it's in my heart. It allows me to explore our tradition and find meaning and connection in ways that speak to my spiritual needs and my desired Jewish experience. It's not just about avoiding the hard parts of Jewish text or practice, but it's actually about learning them and understanding them and finding ways to bring them to life in our modern context. And Reform Judaism is about making space for anyone who wants to practice Judaism or connect with Jewish community. For me, it's the perfect balance. It's the right balance of history and tradition and innovation. And it's something that has always been a part of my life. So that was the journey to get to HUC. And now I've spent the last 6 years immersed in learning. In 9 days, as Rabbi Serkman said, on May 2nd, I ascend the Bima at Temple Emmanuel. But here's the secret. I don't magically become a fully formed rabbi or a fully formed Jew in that moment. It's not like I have all the answers with nothing left to learn because, as the wise Rabbi Elliot Kleinman said, if that's the case, the college would ordain me and retire me in the same day. At the beginning of Parshat Kiroshim, one of this week's 2 Torah portions, we read the words, Kiroshim tihiyu ki kadosh ani Adonai Elohechem. You shall be holy, for I, Adonai, your God, am holy. God is already holy. That we know. And we shall be holy, meaning that it's a process unfolding. It's a process of becoming. This is exactly why we renamed our B'nai Mitzvah program The Journey of Becoming, because it's not about a singular moment. It's about all of the moments along the way and what happens after. My journey of becoming has looked and felt really different this year. I never imagined that I would finish rabbinical school online, far away from my classmates and things that give me purpose, like Larchmont Temple. I had to lead the HUC soup kitchen from afar. I had to miss in-person kesher in the fall in these wonderful tents. And I had to write my thesis with whatever resources I could find online because the library wasn't available in the same way. And for all of the challenges, there have been parts of this year, of this journey, that have been profound and full of deep reflection and joy. Our beloved teacher, Rabbi Larry Hoffman, says that Judaism is best lived in relationship. For me, these relationships, these are where the holy moments and the sparks of the divine come to life. It's where they exist in the connections that we make with one another. Being a rabbi means that I embrace this holiness and invite others into the journey, not my journey, but their own. And by walking our individual journeys together, we can support one another and revel in these holy moments together. Becoming a rabbi is an incredibly humbling and sacred moment. And it's filled with great awe and gratitude. This time, this moment in time, 2021, it requires a lot of the clergy. And it's a little daunting, if I'm going to be honest. Our world is tired, and it's in need of justice and healing. But I didn't sign up to be a rabbi only in times of happiness and joy. And I've never felt more ready. I've never felt more ready to take on this sacred work than I do right now. As exhausted as I feel sometimes, and I think we all feel that this year, living this last year, it gives me strength and it gives me hope that we have so much to look forward to. So in closing, I offer these words by Norman Hirsch, which is a familiar reading in our Siddur Mishkan Tefillah. Once or twice in a lifetime, a man or woman may choose a radical leaving, having heard Lech Lecha, go forth. God disturbs us toward our destiny by hard events and by freedom's now urgent voice, which explode and confirm who we are. We don't like leaving, but God loves becoming. To that I add, Kiroshim Nihiyu. May we be holy in this sacred journey together. I did it.
I have my mask on.
Oh.
Told you she was a rabbi. So on May 7th, on May 7th, right? May 7th, we're going to do a special blessing for Rabbi Aaron Binder on that Shabbat. So, and we're going to do it, I think, here, right, Trace? Well, all right. We're going to do it right here. So be here. I bet, we should do it. I'm just thinking this. We should bring out the Ark and have it right here.
Also, join me next week for Chaver Torah, Parshat Emor, the Bat Mitzvah portion that comes full circle for becoming a rabbi.
I'm going. I'm not going to miss it.
Well, that ups the ante.
So, yeah, we're pretty lucky, pretty blessed. On page, what page is it? Oh, there's no page numbers. Can you beat that? The Aleinu is on the next page. And as you rise for Aleinu, Rabbi Franco shared a bit of the Holiness Code. My favorite verse in the Holiness Code is the one we're going to study tomorrow at Chaver Torah, which is verse 16, the second half. Al ta'amod al dam re'acha. The right translation is, do not stand by while your neighbor bleeds. That's what the Aleinu prayer is. It says it's on us to make the world whole. It's on us to repair the brokenness. It's on us to open our eyes and our hearts to make a difference. It's the final charge at services to remind you, once you leave here, all the work that's out there.
Aleinu l'shabeach l'adon hakol, לתת גדולה ליוצא בראשית, שלא עשנו כגויי הארצות, ולא שמנו כמשפחות האדמה, שלא שם חלקנו כהם, וגורלנו ככל המונם, ואנחנו קוראים ומשתחווים ומודים לפני מלך מלכי המלכים, הקדוש ברוך הוא. ונאמר והיה אדוני למלך על כל הארץ, ביום ההוא יהיה אדוני אחד, Ushemo, Ushemo, Ushemo Echad.
From Mitch Albom's Ninth Tuesday conversation with his Brandeis professor and life teacher, Maury Schwartz, in his dying days. Someone asked me an interesting question yesterday, Maury said, looking over my shoulder at the wall hanging behind me, a quilt of hopeful messages that friends had stitched for him on his 70th. Each patch on a quilt had a different message: stay the course. The best is yet to be. Maury always number one. What was the question, I asked? If I worried about being forgotten after I died. Well, do you? I don't think I will be, said Maury. I've got so many people who've been involved with me in close and intimate ways, and love is how you stay alive even after you're gone. Sounds like a song lyric, I said. Love is how you stay alive. Maury chuckled. Maybe, but Mitch, all this talk that we're doing? Do you ever hear my voice sometimes when you're back home? When you're all alone? Maybe on the plane or in your car? Yes, I admitted. Then you will not forget me after I'm gone. Think of my voice, and I'll be there. Think of my voice. Kaddish is a mantra meant for us to say while we're listening for the voices of those we love. Still speaking, teaching us what never to forget. That as we remember and hear those voices, their love is still alive. This Shabbat, we remember the Yortzites observed in our congregational family of Dora Eisner, Eugene Weiner, Joan Albin, Maxine Fern, Bob Fried, Eleanor King, Mark Hirsch, Doris Stampleman, Elaine Margolin, Molly Lamster, Saul Mintz, my dear, dear friend Bob Frankel, Joe Ellen Kipnis, Arnold Goody, Neil Hellman, Gertrude Cantor, Irving First, Judith Godin, May Ashner, John Mass, Jean Baumwall, Marion Weinstein, Beatrice Robbins, Isabel Sherman, Rose Gittleman, Sidney Perlman, Betty Handler, Aaron Held, Tilly Falkoff, David Geffner, Vivian Softness, Milton Rones, Dr. Jeffrey Escher, Barbara Weiss, Molly Jennis, past president of our congregation, the inimitable Sheldon Turk, Robert Polsky, Marcia Pollock, Zilla Mankin, Donald Tolchin, Stuart Hoover, Larry Buchin, Torin Garin, Ed Weiner, and Rebecca Diamond. Will anybody here add a name in sacred remembrance? To those names, we link 6 in our congregational family who have been laid to rest in the past 30 days. Shiloshim, Lieutenant Colonel George Alvarez, brother of Kathy Parter, Ellen Sanger, wife of Mort, sister of David, daughter of Ken, Andy Fusco, wife of Judy Nathan, father of Bella and Erin, Al Barron, husband of Donna, father of Jeff and Amy, father-in-law of Ed, grandfather of Sam, Maddie, brother of Eve, Nathaniel Rychek, brother of Ruth Barron, and to be laid to his eternal rest on Tuesday, Bill Sussman, husband of Jen, brother of Dawn, father of Matt and Harry. The memories of all of them are with us, praising the Holy One for the gift of life and listening for the voice of the love that still lives. We share in words of Kaddish. Yitgadal v'yitgadash shemei Rabbah, bi'alma divrach hirutei v'yamlich malchutei, b'chayechon v'yomechon, u'v'chayei decho beit Yisrael, ba'galav yisman kari v'imru amen, Yehei shmei Rabbah mivorach le'olam u'l'olmei almaya, Yitbarach v'yishtabach v'yitpa'ar v'yitromam v'yitnaseh, v'yitadar v'yitalev v'yitalal, shmei dekudsha barichu, le'elam min kol birchata v'shirata, tushbechata v'nechamata, Miran Be'alma V'imru Amen. Yehi Shlama Rabba Min Shemaya. V'chayim Aleinu V'al Kol Yisrael V'imru Amen. Ose Shalom B'imromav Hu Yaseh Shalom Aleinu V'al Kol Yisrael V'al Kol Yoshvei Tevel V'imru Amen. Zichronam Livracha. May their memories be for blessing. Amen.
Shabbat Shalom. Boy, did I pick the right week to be the outdoor greeter. So Mazel Tov to our B'nai Mitzvah families, to Raya and Addison, your families. We're confident you'll be great tomorrow. Hope you enjoy the services, and Mazel Tov to all of you. Thank you to, I guess we're calling it Rabbi now, to Rabbi Binder for the keynote speech. It was really excellent, and we will miss you greatly. We've enjoyed having you for 3 years. I know you won't be a stranger, but it's been good having you be a completely non-stranger while you were here. There's a lot going on, as always. Check the website and the weekly email. I'd like to highlight just one item, which is on Thursday, April 29th, from 7 to 8 p.m. on Zoom, the Social Justice Leadership Group and LT Brotherhood are co-sponsoring a discussion of the film Fists of Freedom, led by our own Ross Greenberg and his special guest Bob Costas, the sports voice of at least my generation, and as my kids know him, the guy who voiced one of the characters in Cars. But it really will be excellent and meaningful, and I encourage everyone to sign up and watch it. And otherwise, enjoy the beautiful night. Shabbat Shalom.
Shabbat Shalom. So, Cantor, here's my idea. We should do Kiddush.
I was about to just talk.
Oh, you were not. You were not. But I think we should have Erev Rav Binder come and hold the Kiddush cup. Be like.
That actually, I wasn't thinking of. That's brilliant, though.
I love that. Isn't that fun?
Rabbi Binder.
She thought she was done.
I can hold a Kiddush cup, I think.
Yeah, you can even lead Kiddush.
Yeah, we should rise.
They teach you to lead Kiddush.
Let's rise to join in Kiddush.
Take it away, my friend.
The whole thing?
Sure, why not?
Oh boy. All right.
You need the words.
Well, you've got them here, right? Baruch atah Adonai Eloheinu melech haolam borei peri hagafen. Baruch atah Adonai Eloheinu melech haolam asher kiddushanu b'mitzvotav v'ratzavanu v'shabbat kodsho be'ahava uvratzon hinchilanu zikaron lema'aseh v'reishit Ki hu yom techila lemikra'e kodesh zecher letziat Mitzrayim Ki banu v'acharta v'otanu kidashta mikol hamim v'shabbat kodshecha be'ahava uvratzon Hinchaltanu Baruch Ata Adonai Mekadesh HaShabbat.
Chaim.
That was good, Rabbi Binder. You want to lead the closing song too?
Oh, no.
Join me. You're going to recognize this melody. We've been singing it all evening to a different text for our closing song on the back of the back program. Adon olam Hashem alach b'terem ko yitzi nivra li'et nasa v'chefzo kol azai melech shemo nikra v'yacharei kichlot hakol levar
לבדו ימלוך נורא, והוא היה והוא הווה, והוא יהיה בתפארה, והוא אחד ואין שני, להמשילו להכבירה, בלי ראשית בלי תכלית, ולא העוז והמשרה, והוא אלי וחי גואלי, בצור חבלי ויצרה, והוא ניסי ומנוס לי, מנת כוסי ביום אקרא, בידו אבקיד רוחי, והייתי שם בעירה, ועם רוחי גביעתי, אדוני לי ולא יירא. יאללה לה 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 לה, 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 יאללה לה 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 לה.
Shabbat Shalom, everyone.